Good afternoon. On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
The only way to deal with these terrorist threats is to go at them where they exist.
I want to remind you that while today's operations are visible, many other operations may not be so visible.
People might have, if they've read the book Horse Soldiers, which was made into a movie, 12 Strong, they might know my name. I'd like to tell you the story of two decisions that I made that I think tell you a story of my life, what's important to me that probably nobody's ever heard of outside my family. The first story, this is what led me to Afghanistan in 2001. While I was a student at the Command and General Staff College the prior year, 1999 and 2000, I had the opportunity to attend a selection for one of our special mission units, Delta Force.
Delta Force is the Army's top covert combat unit with a storied history of hunting terrorists and rescuing hostages around the world.
I was 35 at the time and was a major in the Army, and I was in the best shape of my life and had been doing very well. We're about maybe a third of the way through it, a little more than that, and I had the opportunity to call home. And when I called home, my wife put our older daughter on the phone, and she was about 2.5, and she said, "Dad, are you coming home tonight?" And I said, "No, honey, I'm not." And she said, "Why not?" And I had that epiphany that I was there in West Virginia for my own ego, and that I needed to put my family's needs first. 17 days prior to my departure, our second daughter had been born. So my wife was at home with a newborn and a 2.5-year-old, and I was off pursuing my own dream, and I made that decision pretty much right there that I was going to withdraw the next morning.
I don't remember ever talking to my dad on the phone, but I've heard the story growing up now, and looking back on that decision, I don't think I can really grasp how it changed my life and my family's life.
When I called home the next day after I'd withdrawn and was waiting and told my wife, I broke down because I'd put a lot of time and effort and energy into preparing for this, and I really wanted it. And I was convinced at that point that had I continued, I think I would have had been selected and gone on to a whole different path in my military career.
I remember that phone call when he said he wanted to get out and he was going to come home. I was really shocked. He was always a family man. Even when I married him, I knew he would be. But it took some time for him to realize that was a really big part of his world, and the Army was no longer the biggest factor of his life.
I realized that you can never go wrong choosing your family over your military career and your own desires. And it set me on a path that led me to Afghanistan less than 2 years later.
America strikes back. Afghanistan is pounded with bombs and missiles from the air and sea.
October 2001, I was deployed to Uzbekistan and then ended up being one of the first soldiers into Afghanistan there after 9/11. So that's the photo of the team the night of our infiltration.
After 9/11, the American government went to Afghanistan to question prisoners.
But then a few Taliban soldiers staged an uprising.
That's me at Kalai Jangi for the Battle at the Fortress. After I relinquished command of 5th Special Forces Group, I was assigned to the Pentagon as the senior military assistant to the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations, and was working in that office and got a call from Admiral McRaven.
So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
Bill McRaven was the SOCOM commander, got a call from his executive officer saying, hey, Admiral McRaven would like you to come be my replacement next year. And put me in a real bind, because about 3 months prior to that phone call, we had moved my mother and father-in-law from Montgomery, Alabama to the greater Washington, D.C. area and into a retirement community because my mother-in-law was suffering from dementia and a commitment to take care of him. I knew if I accepted this job, it would require me to move to Tampa and leave my wife with kids in high school and aging parents to take care of. And I just said, I can't do it. I can't leave my wife with this burden on her own. I need to stay here and help. Well, if I'd taken that job, I certainly would have had to leave my family behind up here, probably for at least a year and a half, and may have gotten promoted. And if you get promoted to the general officer ranks, it's a whole different game, and you've basically committed to the service until they no longer have any use for you. And it requires a lot of moves, and there's no telling where it might have led years down the road. I know some of my peers retired as 2 and 3 stars. I'm sure at least one of them will make 4-star. And I'm not saying I would have gotten that far, but it certainly would have totally changed my career trajectory.
It definitely meant a lot for me that he stayed here and that he realized the priority of having my family close by. The girls have great memories of their grandparents here. To be close to them and have dinners with them and watch them age and get older, I think it was important for my daughters to see.
I don't think anyone could have really known what the outcome of those decisions were. I think that sort of the best case scenario happened, but I think that he made that decision knowing that if you choose family, you can't go wrong.
To the Army, I was replaceable. I used to joke around with my mother. She thought it was so impressive that her son was a colonel in the Pentagon. And I would tell her, Mom, a bus could run over a dozen colonels and the Pentagon would still keep, they have a brief memorial service and then they keep functioning. Because the Department of Defense, our military services are organizations that are designed to accept casualties and still keep on functioning. But you can't say the same about your family. To my wife and my children, I'm irreplaceable.